To apply formatting to any text within your document, to make it stand out, make it bold, italics, underline, change the font color, the font type, even the size, first of all, you need to select the text that you want to apply the formatting to. And what I'm looking at here is step 1 spiritually, maybe make it bold. To do that, I need to click and drag to select it. And notice that when I select it, it selects the image. And the reason why it's doing that is because the image has been anchored, and you can hover over the anchor. It says the selected object is anchored to the text at this location in the document. It's anchored to that paragraph. How do I know that this line is a paragraph? As we learned in an earlier training video, you can find out by turning on the Show Hide codes, and that's up here on the Home tab in the paragraph group. There's the paragraph marker, the icon, and you can see it Show Hide. Click on it to show the codes, and you can see there's a paragraph marker. So this line is a paragraph, and this image has been set next to it or within that paragraph. So when I want to select the entire line but not the paragraph, because if I click and drag and select half of the line with the paragraph, it doesn't select the image. But when I try to select the entire line or paragraph but not the paragraph marker, so I don't select the image, because when it comes to formatting an image, I don't want to deal with any coding issues later on when I use advanced features if there should be an issue. So what I can do is I can go ahead and try to click and drag, but when I do that, it keeps wanting to zip over to the end of the paragraph. Now I can do it if I'm very patient without selecting the paragraph marker there, but if you have issues with that, like I do from time to time, then what you can do is you can go ahead and use the shortcut keys on the keyboard. You can click and drag to get, let's go as far as we can, and then hold down the Shift key and use the right arrow key, as we learned in an earlier training video, and hit it a couple of times. When it goes over to the paragraph marker, hit the left arrow key with the Shift key held down, and there we go. We selected what we needed, just the text here, not the paragraph marker, to be able to apply some formatting to it. And let's turn off the codes because they annoy me. I don't need them right now. Come up here and turn them off. And you can apply formatting to the selected text one of, many ways. You can either use the shortcut keys on the keyboard like Control B for bold, and that up here in the font group highlights B. You can see it's selected, and there's the shortcut key for bold. If I do Control B again, it deselects it. Of course, when you select the text, the mini formatting toolbar will come up, and it doesn't here because we had to select it in a special way. But if I want to bring it up again without reselecting it, I can right-click on the selection. I get the shortcut menu, but I also get the mini formatting toolbar that I can do, B for bold, I for italics. Even apply a color to it, which I can do it either from here or again up here in the font group. The mini formatting toolbar is just a quick way to get to it without coming up here within the font group. And it's right there as well. When you hover over the letter A with the red line underneath it, that's the font color. To get more colors than just the default red right now, you can click on the drop down arrow and look at all those pretty colors. But if I just click on the letter A with the red, it's going to apply red. But if I click on the drop down arrow and I choose another color, which before I do that, notice that when you're not sure what color's been applied to this, because you have theme colors that have varying shades, notice you've got the standard colors down below that when you hover over it, in the pop-up, it says it's red. And you can see that it's highlighted because that's the color that's currently being applied to the selected text. But if I choose some other color, like one of the blues here, it says dark blue. It doesn't say just dark blue, but it says dark blue text 2, lighter 40%. That way, if you need to send somebody information about the colors that you're using, you can reference that so they can easily detect it and find it when you give it that name, and not just dark blue, but what type of text and the percent of lightness to it, so they can get the exact color. Of course, if you want to get more exact with your colors, then you can select more colors, and then, the standard, it shows it right there, but if you want to go by number, click on Custom, and there it is, the RGB red, green, and blue. So if you choose any color here, it'll change and put in the amount of red and green and blue to make up that color. Go ahead and give them the numbers here so they can do a custom, type in the same numbers, they'll get the exact same color. I'm not going to do that. Let me click Cancel, we'll keep it red. So if I change the color here, click on the drop down arrow and do green, now you can see that the letter A is defaulted to green, as well as when I double click to select a word in the mini formatting toolbar, it's updated there as well. So as a shortcut for me going, hey, I'd like green again, just go ahead and click on the letter A because that was the last format that I used. And in fact, if I want to use some shortcut keys instead of bringing up the mini formatting toolbar as well when I select some text, it's right there, you can click on it, but remember, up on the Quick Access toolbar, you have the Repeat Text Fill effect. It acts as a double agent, as you recall in an earlier training video. You've got your undo, But when you undo an action, this changes into the redo, so you can redo the undo. Or if you perform an action, not an undo, but an actual action, it's there for you to repeat that action. So you can see that helping is highlighted. Go ahead and click on it, and it repeats the last action that I performed, which was turning the font color green. Or you can do, let me double click, Control Y, and you can keep doing that as many times as you like. Also, the shortcut key for that is F4. So if I double click on participating and I hit F4, it's the repeat last action shortcut as well. Let's go ahead and hit undo many times here and go back to spiritually, and let's change it to red. And we can change the font type. Instead of the default Times New Roman that's currently applied to it, you can click on the drop down arrow, and if I want Comic Sans, well, it's sorted alphabetically, and you can see all the fonts, and when you hover over it, it gives you a preview, but I can't see the preview because it's hidden behind the drop down list here. So maybe if I right click on it and click on the drop down arrow here with the mini formatting toolbar, okay, well, it still hides it, but you can see that when I go over all the different font types, it updates it there right here to that font type to give you a preview to see if, hey, I'd like that, or you don't want to see it. Now, if it's a recently used font like Comic Sans, go ahead and select it, but if you want to go down to the C's, you can click and drag and scroll, 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 or if you know the name of the font, just start typing it in. Up at the top, it's already highlighted, so you can just start typing and it'll overwrite it. After you type in the first couple letters, if it's the font that you want and you haven't finished typing in beyond COM, but you like the font, Comic Sans, just go ahead and hit the Tab key. That way you don't have to scroll down to find it. When you hit the Tab key, it automatically applies to it. Now, what about additional formats or effects for the fonts here? You got your basics here, but notice that within that group you have an expandable dialog box button, and the shortcut key is Control D. You can either click on it to bring up the font window here, which gives you more options. I mean, it gives you the same options that you see up here, but additional options, close out, or Control D on the keyboard brings up the same window. Again, you can change the color here, give it some underline effect or the font type. You also have additional effects like strike through, make it all caps. You can see down the preview window what it's going to look like. You also have some text effects. Select that, and you've got text feel and outline. If you want to change the feel or the outline of the text, you can actually have the text outlined in a different color just by clicking on the triangle here to expand it. So the text feel is a solid color, it's red. The text outline could be a solid line that could be something, let's do yellow. Boy, I'm creating some sort of Frankenstein monster here. That's good. We can go to the next one that's called text effects and turn down the triangle here to give it shadow. We've got some presets here. I'll deal with that instead of trying to set my own shadow for the text. Click on the drop down and you can see there's offset diagonal bottom right shadow. Just by hovering over it, you can get the exact name in case if you are trying to tell somebody else the exact name that you use for the preset. Let's scroll down here and do something. We'll use this one, perspective diagonal upper right. What a fun name. Go ahead and select that, click Okie dokie, click OK. Ooh, that's kind of different, isn't it? I didn't say it was an artiste, at least not at this moment, when I'm trying to show you all the different options that you can use. Say that we like this, and say that we want to take that same format that's been applied, all the different formats, to that text, step 1 spiritually, and apply it to step 2 physically. Oh man, can you remember all that? You can come down here and select the text you want to apply it to. Let me scroll down. And of course, if I go too far, it selects the image next to it, but I won't go too far. And you can say, okay, what was it? Was it red, yellow? How do I get the outline? You can click anywhere within the formatted text and get kind of an idea by coming up here within the font group and go, oh, okay, at least we know it's B because that's highlighted, it's bold, italics, Comic Sans, size 12. You'd have to do Control D to bring up other options here and go to the text effects, and boy, you really got to do some digging down to find out what's been applied to it, what text outline there is. It's yellow here, any shadow effects, and on and on. Let's go ahead and close out and click cancel and say, instead of worrying about all that, let's take everything that's been applied to here and apply it down here by using the Format Painter.